one. 18. Think about what you wanted to do when you were turning 18. Was it being able to legally buy cigarettes? Or was it being able to buy or rent porn? Was it being able to get into an R-rated movie without a parent or guardian? Or did you look forward to being able to get your driver's license without taking driving classes? 18, the age when you're officially an adult. 18, the voting age. Many of us take advantage of the right to drive, smoke, drink, more than we take advantage of our right to vote. The primary election in California is happening next month, and most of us young adults will not be voting. Not because we're underage, but because we simply choose to not exercise our right to vote. Why? Eunice, would you be comfortable if Ivan voted on your behalf? Or Professor Kirkham, would you be comfortable if CJ voted on your behalf? I neglected my right to vote for years. And I used to think, even if I wanted to vote, I didn't know enough about politics to make a valid decision. So last year, I registered to vote, and registering, I was obligated to know about the policies and the candidates who were running. And in learning about all these things, I realized how much of these policies and candidates will affect my future now and later. I'm registered to vote. Are you? And if you are, do you vote? My purpose today is to get you to think about how important it is to, as young adults, to be aware of the current issues in our world and to be active participants in decisions for your future by voting. To persuade you to be aware of the current issues right now and to exercise your right to vote, I'm going to explain why it's necessary to vote and describe how voting affects your values and has an impact on your lifestyle, as well as tell you how it can have an effect on your finances in your future, and show you how easy it is to start voting. Our right to vote is a right we often take for granted. Voting gives you the opportunity to voice your opinions and to shape your government. In 1971, the voting age was lowered from 21 years old to 18. According to the U.S. Constitution Online, the 26th Amendment, which lowered the age to vote, was due to protests against the Vietnam War. During that time, young males were able to be drafted at the age of 18, but they weren't allowed to vote. So it was believed that if you were being drafted, you should have the right to vote, especially for the leaders who are sending you to war. This is an example of how it is important for you to be aware of current issues and to vote, because it has an effect on your life, and the politicians, people who represent you, need to be those who have your best interest in mind for the public and for the majority. According to statistical analysis of the November 2008 election previously done by the U.S. Census Bureau, only 44.3% of the total population of 18 to 24-year-olds voted. Based on these statistics report by Tom Edwards, who quoted Tom File, a voting analyst from the Census Bureau, states, quote, "The 2008 presidential election saw a significant increase in voter turnout among young people, blacks, and Hispanics. But as turnout among some other demographic groups either decreased or remained unchanged, the overall 2008 voter turnout rate was not statistically different from 2004. So it increased, but it was still only 44.3%. So you need to be aware of current issues, candidates, and their standpoints, and to not just be a registered voter, but actually participate in voting to better ensure the best quality for your life. The restrictions that you may experience today are due to the votes of some and the lack of participation from others. Being informed of current issues in voting has a large impact on your lifestyle and your values. For example, the California Proposition 8 from 2008 is an example of how voting has an impact on your values and lifestyle. According to VoterGuide.com, Proposition 8, quote, eliminates the right of same-sex couples to marry, which means you can't marry if you're not a man or woman. On November 4, 2008, exit poll conducted by Edison and Matovsky reported that Proposition 8 passed with only 52.3% voting yes and 47.7% voting no. That's not even a 5% difference. So according to ProtectMarriage.com, Prop 8 won by a margin of only 600,000 votes. Whether you were for or against same-sex marriage, think about how small that margin is and how it could have turned out differently because you didn't vote, for better or for worse. An example of a past vote that may have an impact on your lifestyle is California Proposition 1A from 2008 as well, which approved for a high-speed passenger train. According to VoterGuide.com, Prop 1A estimates to cost $19.4 billion. And this will provide long-distance commuters with transportation. It will reduce the high price in gas, reduce air pollution, traffic congestion. But at the same time, it costs a lot of money. So being aware of current issues and voting will provide the opportunity to vote for some that may or may not address your priorities. Perhaps you will vote yes for Prop 1A because in the future you would have job opportunities that are farther away because transportation distance will be a problem anymore. Or you might not want to vote for Prop 1A because it will contribute to California's deficit and you won't be using a train. So your vote matters. It may not apply to you now, but it will in the future. Now that you see how past votes have an effect on your current values and lifestyle, let me describe how being aware of issues and being an active registered voter will influence your future. Being 18 to 24 years old, we're really young, so you probably don't care about what's going on in politics and around the world, but you need to be, because if you fail to prepare now, we fail to prepare for our future children. You need to be aware of even of past votes. For going back to Proposition 8, Proposition 22 stated the same thing, banning same-sex marriage, and it was in 2000. It was overturned by the Supreme Court, and then Proposition 8 in 2008 overturned that again. So just because it was voted now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. You need to be aware of current issues and to vote in order to keep something continuing the way it is or to reverse it, whatever you believe in. Also, a proposition may affect your children, even if it doesn't affect you. For example, Proposition 3 funded for children's hospitals. It doesn't affect you, but it will create access for your children in the future by giving them hospitals and addressing their health issues. With the statewide primary election coming up in June, one of the propositions on the ballot that most likely will affect you is Proposition 17, which, according to the voter guide, quote, allows auto insurance companies to base their prices in part on a driver's history of insurance coverage. This means that the insurance company can determine your cost depending on whether you have a history of continuous insurance coverage. It's important because it may be favorable or unfavorable to you. For example, I'm moving to Chicago for grad school, where they use public transportation a lot, the metro system and the bus. So I won't be driving. And a gap in my coverage will increase my insurance when I come back to California and I want to drive again. So since being aware of current issues and voting will be beneficial for you in the future, you should start voting. It's actually really easy. You may be hesitant to read about the propositions and the policies because it might be too confusing or difficult, but it's actually not that bad. Going online to the sources like VotersGuide.com makes it really simple. They explain everything to you in easy terms and telling you what voting yes on something means, what voting no on something means. And registering to vote is as simple as filling out a form with your name, your address, and your California driver's license or ID. And sources that you can register to vote include the California state site, RothVote.com, maybe you've heard of it from the TV, and even the DMV has registration forms for you. As I mentioned in the beginning, according to U.S. Census Bureau, only 44.3% of young adults between 18 to 24 years old voted. However, 53.4% actually registered to vote. So what happened to the 9% that registered but didn't vote? Voting is easy. You don't have to physically go to the poll to vote. You can vote by mail. No stamp, no problem. No push necessary. So it's important to be aware of current issues that occur in your country because it's your future and you should take part in making the decisions and you shouldn't take voting for granted. Voting will have an impact on your values, your lifestyle, your finances, and your future. So you take an active part in voicing your needs and opinions. Look to the people sitting around you. Do you trust them to have your best interest in mind? Or, for better yet, do you trust them to vote for your children's future? Thank you.